What is up, guys? Josh with DepriveD Productions here, back in UE4, Unreal Engine 4 with the 12th material tutorial, and today we're really just going to talk, me, you, and whoever's listening. We're going to discuss a little more in detail a lot of the nodes we've already used in the material editor, just to make sure everybody has a grasp. The noise and the lerping and the texture coordinates and why and what, and we're just really going to just really get a detailed description of what's going on. You know what I'm talking about? So here we go. Let's jump in. Check it out. I got this material here that's literally nothing, and I got it, I'm going to set it to a cube, and we're gonna look at this cube today. We're gonna look at it from time to time and just see what all we can do with it. You know what I'm saying? Now, we've talked several times. When you hold the number 1, right, you get a little constant value here. And now, we mess with base color a lot. We plug it in. Now, how many times I've talked about it, I don't know, but 0 is empty or black or nothing. And of course, 1 is going to be white or full. Everything is on that binary system. And you really got to remember that when you're working here, if you're ever creating your own stuff. And that's what I want to make you understand. For instance, if we wanted color, we're going to need more than one value, right? That's not going to cut it. And that's why we use like a 3 vector. But for instance, let's grab the number 2. Hold the number 2. You can plug it in here to base color, can't you? You see red and green, right? So I could change the red to 1, which would be full red and no green. If I change them both to 1, it'll be red and green added together. So you got yellow. So there you go. But there's no blue. So I could toy with this all day, 0.2 and whatever not, and do different kind of collars and play with it. But the point is, if you want the blue, that's why we use the 3, the whole number 3, and you have 3 values, a vector. And of course, you can right click and create a parameter like we've talked about so we can name it and use it later. But anyway, here you go. You got 1, 1, and 1 for white, right? Because 1 is full. If they're all full up on that last one, they're all full, it's going to be white, right? You can change 1 to 0 here. What if I change red to 200 and the other one's to 1? Look at this. But it's still just white, guys, because it's just the base color. Now, if that was plugged into emissive color, it's going to be real bright. You know what I'm talking about? Look at that red. Whoa. And now it's going to change. So I can change this back to 1 and change the green to 400. Oh, yeah. See, that emissive color is actually multiplying, but this is stopping at the 0, guys. So it don't matter what you do there, you know what I'm saying? So that's why a lot of the time you'll see me, and I'll grab my, and I like to just double click on here and make a collar, you know what I'm saying, like a little nasty looking collar, and then I'll hold the number 1 because what? Metallic is the same way, 0 being no metal and 1 being metal, and of course I know we've discussed this, but I'm just making sure you guys understand why this is happening. You know what I'm saying? Like, what exactly is going on here? So, like, if you actually have everything set a certain way, I guess we'll say, or if you have everything set, like, by numbers, the way it works, if you actually pay attention to the numbers themselves, it'll actually help you a lot. 0 is one thing, 1 is another. Everything in between is just points in time, points in space. You know what I'm saying? So, if I have this set to completely reflective and the metal is all the way up to 1, this is smooth. But if I set it to 1, the roughness to 1, where it's rough, it can't reflect light the same way. But if we go back to 0, like I said, boom, there we go. And there's something else to think about too, and I'm going to show you the specular here in a second. But again, I know we've discussed this, but let's move on a little bit. Let me show you something. Go to the window here. Go to the content browser, open it up. I'm in the textures here, and I'm going to grab a couple here. I'm going to grab the grass moss. And I'm going to grab its normal. We've done that before. But then right here beside it, I'm going to grab this dirt here. And it's normal, a little ground gravel. You know what I'm talking about? Let's drag these out of the way and this out of the way. Now, if I plug this in, we've done this before too. You see it pop up, okay? There we go, a little green. Now look at that white light, kind of like reflecting on it. You see that? You see that? You can kind of get rid of that. Again, specular. So if I hold the number 1 and I don't want any light on it, because 0 to 1, right? 1 being full, 0 being empty. Watch. Okay, no light. You know what I'm talking about? But if I set it to 1, it's going to have all kind of reflection in it. It might be really kind of blurry or kind of glary at certain times. It's kind of look kind of weird. You know what I'm talking about? So be careful with that. Kind of experiment with it. And I'll tell you another thing. Let's turn that off for now. Plug this normal in. You know, we've done this before. You know, we've done this several times so you can see the normal map. Now the light, when you see the light, you can see it kind of work its magic. The light is actually faking it. It's not really there. Look how flat that is. It's flat. But if you actually come in here, it looks like it's there. Well, I'll hold the number 1 again and put that plug it into specular at 0 again. And as you can tell, it's harder to see the normal. I can unplug it. You may be able to see a small difference. You can see a small difference in the rivets of the shadows, but it's really not there. You need the light to see the normal map because it's not real. So it's just one of those things to think about. So let's unplug this for a minute. And I got this unplugged. Now, type in a texture coordinate, okay? Now, we've done this just a couple times. You know, that's not it, guys. Texture coordinate. I'll type in texture and then the letter C, and it usually pops up. And sometimes we drop the window and whatnot, but we're just working with this today. Check it out. When it's in UVs, and I know we've discussed this too, it's tiling the amount of times it's wrapping around this cube, right? That's what we're doing. And right now, it's just one time. So if I set it to 5 and 5, it should be 5 across. Well, it's kind of weird now, right? It's repeating. It's zoomed way in almost, but it's multiplying it. So if you want to zoom in, you have to wrap it less times. So 0.2, it's barely even getting around there. So it's kind of gets too bad. But if I plug in the normal, it's still doing the normal at a 1 by 1. You know, it's still doing the normal at its own, you know, in its UV. You know what I'm saying? We actually need to plug this into both of them. And again, I'm sure we've covered that. But I'm just making sure you guys understand how important. Look at the rivets all big now. You know what I'm saying? You can see it. I'll see exactly what it looks like because it actually has the same unwrapping quality here that the texture does. The normal has to be at the same coordinate. That way it actually wraps the same way. And I'm sure that makes sense. And again, I like to sometimes make it a little deeper. I'll hold the letter M here and grab me a multiply and then hold the number 3. And then I'll plug the number 3 into my multiply along with the normal. And what I do there is I strengthen or weaken my normal. And sometimes to do that, I'll unplug base collar so I can see what my normal looks like. And with black, it's nothing. But let's say it's 1, 1, and 1, because if you multiply anything by 1, what happens? What happens? Make sure you fix the old 0 there, bro. Make sure it's all set to 1 there. But if you just multiply something by 1, thinking about it, what happens? Nothing. So there we go. We got our normal map without our texture. But if I add more blue to it, so 1, 1, and 5, it's going to be a little flatter now. What's going on there? You see what I mean by that? Because there's more blue. The red and the green are actually the height. So if I go 3, 3, 1, you'll see it kind of really get rigid, almost too rigid. Whoa! You know what I'm saying? But it has a neat look to it, though. I mean, you know, you could really toy with that. So, like I said, you could overdo it, and if you overdo it, it will look really bad. And like I said, you could really crank up the blue. Maybe the blue's at 8, and you can almost not see the normal map, but it's barely there. So just something to think about, toying with that kind of stuff. But then again, so a couple other things. Let's just plug it in how we usually do. I want to drag in these other things, these other maps. I got my, we'll take out the texture coordinate because it's not important. I got my grass on the top, dirt on the bottom. Like my grass on the top, dirt on the bottom. Right click. Let's type in radial gradient exponential because we've used that before. Now the thing is, you can't see what this thing's doing, but if I plug it into the base collar, then we can kind of see what it's doing. You know, right? That's the look we're going for. So this is our alpha map if we were going to do any lerping, right? Let's hold the letter L, get a couple lerps, because you know we're going to do that. So this is our alpha map, and I know I've talked about this. I'm going to plug the grass into the top here and the dirt into the bottom. Yep. I'm going to do the same thing right here, grass in the top, dirt in the bottom. You know what I'm talking about, get it done. And there we go. We got our alpha map. We got our lerps here. That alpha is the same thing, guys. 0 to 1. A is 0, B is 1. A is 0, B is 1. A is 0, B is 1. So if this is plugged into that, and this is plugged into that, the grass is going to be on the outside, and there's going to be dirt in the middle. Right? I mean, it makes perfect sense because it's black and white. And just making sure you guys completely comprehend this. And of course, if I do it with the normal, and you know, once again, I know we've done this, you can see both normal maps working. And if I added another lerp, because I'm not scared, you know what I'm talking about, and I hold it like that, and I get 2 just 1 values. And I plug this into this one right here, and I plug it into roughness. And the reason I only got 1 values is because all I need is 0 and 1. If I plugged 1 into, let's plug this one and make this one rough. Make that one real smooth, and then make the grass real rough. Okay, so the grass is dry. Oh, we did them backwards. You know what I'm saying? It's backwards. So make sure this one is set to 0. The one that is the dirt, make sure they're not backwards. Oh, maybe. There we go. That one, and then make sure the grass is dry. That's kind of like wet or smooth or dry or rough, you know, whatever you want to call it there. But the grass, I want it to be kind of a rough dry, and the dirt kind of a wet, polished look, you know, boom. There you go. See, I mean, like I said, you can work with them all day. I could plug this in the metal, and then it's going to start looking really weird, you know what I'm saying? Like, get down in it. But I'm still just using all the 0, 1, 1 values, guys. So delete everything but this radial gradient exponential. One thing I'll do sometimes is I'll drag a line from this, or even better, just hold the letter M. Yeah, you can plug it into there. And then, boom, I actually have a picture of what it is because I'm just multiplying it by the number 1 now. And you guys know, math is simple. If you multiply anything by the number 1, it's the same color. So here we go. So we've got this alpha map here, right? We can make our own custom alpha maps, right? Remember that texture coordinate down here? Let's type it in again. Texture, well, up, you got to spell it right, son. Texture C, grab the C. Now this time let's drag it down like we did before. It's got the red, yellow, and green, and you know how I mask it out sometimes. Type in the word mask, and it'll pop up, and let's pull one out. Let's pull the red out and make it all green looking. It's left to right. Now, there's so many things we do with this. I mean, because if I plug this in now, let's plug this into base collar. You know what I'm saying? Unplug this one right here and go up like that. You can see what it's doing to the cube. You can see, just in case. You know, like I said, you can do a lot of stuff here. We could hold the letter M and just multiply that just to see what happens. Work some math on it. This is multiplying it by 1. Obviously, isn't going to do anything because, again, it's the same thing. But if I'd multiply it by 5, multiply it by 5, it's more white, right? Multiply it by 0.1. It's going to be more of the black look, right? It's very simple, but it's not really doing what we want it to. But watch what I do here. If I actually, and I'm just going to move this out of the way for the time being because I'm going to need it in a minute. If I type the word sine right there, watch what sine does, okay? I want you to just look at that for a minute before I plug it in. It's actually taking it, making a mirror image, and then it's black. But what if I want this whole thing to be a mirror image, the whole thing? Well, we could do this. Plug this into the multiply first, okay? Plug this into the multiply first, and then plug this into that. Now, make sure we're multiplying by 0.5. So cut it in half, and then we can update this, and it should be a mirror image of itself. So if I plug that into base collar, boom! Now I've got an up and a down, almost like a beam. And then what I can do is I can take the power of that. Kind of like in algebra, you make powers and square and stuff and cube and stuff, and I can literally multiply what it's doing. So I'll take the power of that and make it maybe 10. Maybe even bigger than that. Maybe like 20. You know what I'm saying? Like a 20, kind of like that. Maybe even, and if I plug that in here, we got a little beam, right? We got this little beam, but see, we got a beam and a dot. So what can we do if we want them both? We want them both? You know we do. White on white, black on black all day, I think. So we're going to add them together a little bit. So just add them, you know what I'm saying? Boom, boom. And then if we look at what we got this little thing right here, and plug that into base collar, and look at our cube now with all this little designs on it. I'm gonna change this 20 to 30 because I'm picky, man. I get real picky. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this little design we got right here that I'm really liking. Yeah, I'm gonna copy and paste the whole thing. Copy and paste the whole thing. You've seen me do this before. Control C, Control V, and I'm literally gonna just change this mask from green to red, which is gonna change the direction of the beam. So now when I do this, it's going down. I got one up, I got one down, I can do another add, right? And I put this in here, and I'll put this in here. Let's see what that looks like. Is that cool or what? Wow, all kind of cool stuff happening. But wait a minute, let's do something else first. Keep this add though, we're gonna use it in a minute. Let's go back to this thing, and I want you to, right here to this one, I want you to actually, what we can do is, you see a lot of white, you see a lot of black, but you see a lot of in between, like some gray. We can ceiling or floor it out. Floor meaning round everything down, ceiling meaning round everything up. That isn't 1 or 0. So I'm gonna type in the word floor here. We're gonna floor this value and see what it looks like. Look at that, son. What's going on there? You see what I'm talking about? I'm gonna floor this one too. Floor this one right here, do that. A little floor action. Let's plug these into our add. You know what I'm talking about? Plug it into our add like that. And then we'll plug this into our base collar. And we've made a little ninja star or something. You know what I'm saying? All kind of cool looking, you know what I'm talking about? We could get really interesting with it, right? I could grab another add and add this. Actually, even better. I might do something. No, we'll do it. We'll take this. We will subtract. You know what I'm talking about? So instead of add, let's do a subtract node. We got that too. A little more math for you. A little subtract. What I'm going to take is I'm actually going to take the radial grain exponential, Control C, Control V, grab another one, plug it in here, and I want to subtract this from that and plug it in here. What do we get? We can actually see it right here. Oh ho ho! Little white circle with a black ninja star kind of coming out of it. And we could do more with it. We could just keep going. Type in the word sine. What are we doing now? What are we even doing? What's happening right now? Plug it in, multiply it by, let's say 1.5, and what happens here? Boom. What is that, guys? What is that? You know what I'm saying? Boom, I would take that. I'd plug it into metallic. I'd plug it into roughness. And then I'd be scrolling around this cube just being like, what is happening right now, son? You know what I'm saying? Look, we just did some math, guys. All kind of math. I know it's a little confusing, but you know, you gotta try to stick with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're just adding, subtracting. Everything's ones and zeros and stuff like that. And you're just adding. Now, these signs and stuff like that can get a little more complicated, I understand. And the only other real node we've toyed with is noise. So if I type that in real quick, I just want to make sure you guys understand. If I type it, if I just plug it into base collar, it is noise. That's what it is. It's just noise. And we go and change the scale to 0.1. We're kind of zooming in a little bit like that texture coordinate. It's the same thing, the texture coordinate over again. That's why sometimes I go to it's saving, thank you. 0.01 sometimes and really zoom in there. And then I can really see what's going on. And that's how I can affect it. I can go into the levels here and change it to 2 maybe instead of I think it was set to 6 or something like that. I'll kind of press 2, press enter, there we go. Or set it to 1, you know what I'm saying? Or just different numbers is what I'm saying. I'll put it at 10, all the way to 10. Check out this output and input. Like, it's set to -1 and 1, but if I set this to 0.5, you'll see that it's just kind of a gray and a white. Got some cloud looking thing there. I could change them more, but I mean, that's pretty cool. So I'll set it to 0 and 1. And you know, kind of give it just the black and white look. I could set the levels up to maybe like 50, just way up there, just out of control, and then set this back to levels 1, and I've got this kind of look here, and you're like, what in the world's going on? And of course, the same thing, black and white, guys. It's just an alpha map. I mean, I could literally plug colors in that, and you know that. I could literally just plug this into metallic, plug this into roughness, and boom, turn it over to the ball, and I've got this ball that has that look. I could get real serious with it. Unplug these, go to the material here, and go to opaque and set it to translucent. Opacity opens up. 0, what is 0 going to be? It's not going to be there. What is 1 going to be? It's going to be there. And so that means black is going to disappear, and white's going to stay there. Isn't that what that means? That's what that means. It's what it means. Guys, thanks for watching. I hope you learned a little something. I just wanted to make sure we understood everything that was going on, okay? Just a recap, just a material recap, tutorial number 12. Hit the page, guys. Subscribe. DepriveD Productions all day. Hit the Facebooks. DepriveD Productions all day, every day. Get it done. Hope I could help y'all. Just covering some basics, guys, because we got all kinds of cool stuff coming. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope we're sticking together, man. I hope I'm making sense. I hope it's all kind of coming together for you. If you have any questions, holler at me. Until then, peace.